Effective feedback in the classroom is useful to students but also educators because it helps educators assess where their students stand during a unit. Effective feedback is feedback that encourages students to think about what they are doing and will help them act like learners. Characteristics of this feedback include directing attention to learning, so the educator sees a problem with how the student is learning, they can correct it. Feedback must provide accurate and meaningful guidance in order for the student to turn in better work. If the feedback is not directly related to the student's learning, then it will not guide the student in the right direction. In order for feedback to be effective, the educator needs to tell the student what they did right and offers information to guide improvement. Feedback is most effective when it occurs during the learning. If a teacher brings up an issue after they are done learning about that topic, it becomes a useless topic. The educator needs to address the topic while it is still relevant. Feedback is most effective when it addresses partial understanding of a topic and is not a giveaway for how the student should fix their ratings or assessments. Feedback should guide but not lead. Students need to engage in deeper learning by themselves. Next step feedback is another important and useful kind of feedback. It is most successful when using with learning targets and helps the student to understand what to do next. It can also help with correction to describe something specific or point out a strategy that's incorrectly being done. Success feedback is another option because next step feedback that is geared towards students that have a lower rate of achievement. This feedback is more focused towards motivating students to keep going with positive remarks. It tells the student what they did correct and describes a quality feature in their work. Drawback of this feedback is that although you should give positive feedback, you should not give praise. Praise can have a negative effect on what the student should be learning. If you praise them, the student will get distracted by what the teacher likes and not what's actually important. An example of a negative way to start feedback is, I like the way you ... because the student is immediately thinking that pleasing the teacher is what is important. Many times students feel like they are writing for the teacher and not the classroom. Examples of feedback can be worksheets that highlight what the student is doing well and what they need to work on. Make sure to tell them it's okay to make mistakes. If an educator doesn't encourage them to work on things but just tells them it is wrong, the student feels as if they are dumb. Feedback by questioning is a great method to offering feedback without giving anything away. When pointing out the mistake to a student, the educator can ask the student what they think they can do to improve or fix their rating or assessment. This question promotes deeper learning. If the student can figure it out by themselves, they can improve their own mistakes. Peer feedback has pros and cons. Pros is that you have someone your own age looking at your paper. Con could be that the student could be too negative to them, and that will turn them off from trying to do more feedback. Peer response groups are helpful for students who need feedback. All the students should come prepared to share their work. One thing that is important to remember is that students should be accepting of feedback. Feedback is not accepted if the students are closed-minded. Another method to use for feedback is to have the students create their own feedback. Students will receive a rubric and they can highlight where they think they are on the rubric. They can evaluate themselves and then the students and the educator can go over it together to see if they agree or disagree. Another strategy that's useful is a conference. One-on-one time with the teacher makes the student feel more important, more valued, and more like the educator is invested in their future. So feedback like this is usually very successful. One thing to be careful about is giving too much feedback at one time. It can overwhelm the student, and then they won't really want to do much revising and editing. Another thing to be careful with when giving feedback is to make sure the student is determined to improve their work. Feedback is only as useful and effective as the student who is determined to put in the work to fix what is on their paper. Growth versus fixed mindset is something that is important to fix feedback. Students who have growth mindset will have a positive view of the feedback that you provide them. People that have a fixed mindset will not do as well. benefit of feedback is that the feedback is effective and not just negative. Students will have faith in themselves to do better and accomplish more with their education. Students will have a solid sense of self-efficacy. When you look back at all the types of feedback and the benefits of effective feedback, you can see how important it is to student growth. It has the power to nurture a growth mindset and self-awareness as a writer. Effective feedback will turn students into deep thinkers that will want to succeed in life.